I going? Why am I going this way? When I go this way, how can I go away from the tee? This is weird.
Stay closer as you can.
Yeah, this thing.
Tighter is better. Chris.
No, it's good. It's good. No, I get, it's all reversed, right? When I go this way, I'm thinking I'm going this way. I get dizzy. It's fine. Are we doing the start now?
Yeah. We are live, everybody! But we are also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of Elise music. Episode 91 of Kamloops Last Week. Christopher Foulds. No Magic Mike, no Greg the Engineer. Bennett and Billa at the controls. 91.
What else but Cameron Wake, the greatest defensive end of all time in professional football. Played for the BC Lions, and then he went down and played for the Miami Dolphins and made his money. And you know when they introduce the NFL players in the NFL, they come out at the beginning of the game, they say, Joe Blow, Penn State, and then, Sam Smith, UCLA. When Cameron Wake came out for the Miami Dolphins and later the Tennessee Titans, he would say, Cameron Wake, BC Lions, because they gave him the chance.
I remember when he first kind of burst onto the scene, there was a video going around of him in the locker room jumping, and this freakish athlete. Yeah. Do you remember that video? The shirt off?
Yeah. Two-time Defensive Player of the Year in Canada, and probably the greatest defensive end of all time in any football league on planet Earth. And he's 41 now, retired, doing well. Also with the BC Lions this week. What are we?
We're losing a lot of viewers right now.
This is important. It's important.
Already, we lost a lot of people.
It's important. Today's May 10th.
Sorry.
Okay. Today's May 10th.
It's McHappy Day, baby.
It's McHappy Day, and it's also
socks for $5. Help kids.
Help kids. It's McHappy Day. It's also the opening of rookie training camp at Hillside Stadium for the BC Lions and all other teams. And this weekend on the 14th, we have the opening of training camp. And this week, Joe Cap died, and Joe Cap was one of the greatest Lions of all time, led them to the 1964 Grey Cup, and they went to Minnesota and led them to the Super Bowl in the first year. He just died, 85 years old.
Got into a big fight with Angelo Mosca.
And he knocked out Angelo Mosca, which made my day, because Mosca was a bully, and took out Willie Fleming in 63. He was an asshole. So anyway.
The training camp stuff is relevant. I'm glad you brought that up. But Cameron Wake, we lost probably 50 views just based on that one point.
Well,
but
their loss.
Key fobs. I want to talk to you about key fobs. Who's calling you? Who is it?
I got work. My daughter called because something's wrong with her tire in North Vancouver. And then I don't know, it goes through my work, so I don't know who this is, but I got this, what about key fobs? Key parties?
You hate key fobs.
Key parties?
Key fobs.
Oh, key fobs.
Why do you hate key fobs so much?
Key fobs. No, because, what happened? Tell the story real quick here.
Well, which story?
We went to Brown's. They got great happy hour at Brown's, right? $5 pints and $10 appetizers.
We never invite Mike.
Magic Mike?
Yeah, he wants to come to that, but he never gets the invite.
He should come, for sure. It's got a great bar. They got the game on. It's a great place to go, especially between 3 and 6.
No costumes in there, though.
No. And I met you guys. I was late. I met you guys. And Jack Bell, who super salesman, he was there, but he was gone. And you were there, and my wife joined us. And Jack had to go all the way out to Valley View to bring another salesman his key fob.
Yes.
Because the guy has a fancy car that doesn't have a key. It doesn't have, you don't put your key in it. These things here, right? This is a normal key that God intended, right? You put it in the car and you turn it, right? And he has those push button thing like my wife has.
It sounds to me like Rylan has an issue with his memory and not having his head in the clouds.
But if you leave your keys at work, he went outside, he started his car by pushing the button like some kind of Jetson space age thing, and then he drives away. But if you get far enough away from your fob, he went to a client, turned his car off, went inside, came out, pressed the button. He couldn't start his car because the key fob was back at work.
He just shouldn't have forgotten.
Now, also, if I go to the car without my keys, I can't start the car, so I go and get my keys.
They have their advantages. You lose a key fob, you can deactivate it. If you lose a hard copy key, then someone can copy. You got to change your lock. So there's some advantages here. I just couldn't believe the vitriol you had toward it when you got so mad talking about the key fob, how much you hate it.
Well, sometimes you advance, you go 2 steps backwards.
I agree with that.
So. And I bet you the key fobs, I bet you any money, somewhere in the key fob manufacturing are some kids in the Congo digging up radioactive minerals for the metals. It's probably bad for the environment.
One area where we took a step back in society right when it was invented was the trifle.
Trifle?
The trifle.
No, I was asking, no.
So you have an ex-girlfriend that used to make you trifles.
I went out with this English lad. I lived with her in Edmonton. What was her name again? I can't remember her name. But Lisa.
Bill, thumbs up or thumbs down on the trifle?
Trifle. Well, she made a trifle from. She's from Birmingham, England, right? They're Aston Villa fans. Her and her mom. They met this trifle, but trifle normally has some kind of bread on the bottom, right? Sponge cake. So they made a trifle that was different. It was excellent. It was Jello, and then it was custard, which I love. You make the custard, and then you cool it, and on top you put Dream Whip or whipping cream, and then some strawberries. Unbelievable.
The whole texture, the gelatin aspect of it, the custard, that disgusting.
Custard's good.
Consistency. Oh, Bennett, what do you think about trifle?
They're good.
You like, oh my goodness, it's 3-1 in here. Mm-hmm. Send us an email, klw@kamloopsthisweek.com. Give us your thoughts on the trifle. I just can't believe anyone likes that
I'm
stuff.
making some this weekend.
It just invokes memories of your past girlfriend, I think.
You probably don't like Jello because you have nightmares about Bill Cosby. That's what it is. Right? That's what it is.
I don't like Jello. I think the custard thing, it goes
Custard's
back.
good.
No, it's disgusting. I hate it.
You don't like the taste of it?
Your phone is going absolutely nuts right now.
Yeah.
Like, this is...
I'm sorry. I'm a busy man.
I think it probably goes back to when I was a kid, and we weren't even allowed to watch The Simpsons. Like, we had a pretty strict family as far as
you grew up in a very
TV.
religious, conservative, self-serving family.
This was long before
Montreal?
that. Yeah, this was in Montreal, I think, and I went to a friend's house, and he put this horror movie on. And it might have been called like Dead or Alive or something. And they're sitting around a table, and they've all got custard for some reason. Blood just starts spurting out into the custard, and they start eating the custard.
Of course you don't like that. You're not going to like custard. You're traumatized for that. That's understandable now. Unfortunately, I didn't grow up in a place where they allow you to watch those kind of things.
It feels like this table could be a sex toy right now with how much your phone's vibrating. It's out of control.
Magic Mike should be here.
Magic Mike. The one time he's in Mississippi, he's missing out. But you and I last weekend, it was a trifling weekend.
It was,
but it was a big one, wasn't it?
Oh, it was, because the rivers are rising, right? And they say don't go too close to the rivers, but we went for a walk along Rivers Trail by the airport with my dog Darby, and she got a little bit too close to the edge there.
And what did she see coming down the river?
It was floating, and it was a Sealy mattress.
Well, that was there too, because they float so well.
They float really well.
But Darby was going nuts because of all the turtles.
Right.
All the turtles that were going down the river because
right.
the VW turtle race was going on.
Yeah, they lost a few and they went down toward Kamloops.
They were the errant turtles.
Yeah, yeah.
And they raised nearly $20,000 did VW at the VW turtle race.
For the Kamloops Brain Injury Association.
Yes. Yeah. Bill won a massive prize.
Bill won a big prize.
Very own Bill.
Yep, yep.
Like you said, we saw the mattress going down, and then what happened after that?
Well, then one of the turtles got whipped up by the wind and landed on the mattress, which made a really interesting thing. And then my dog jumped on top of the mattress and then floated into the bay, and we went and picked him up. And then right there, out of the blue, we saw it.
We saw it. We saw a sign that said, Gord's is hiring delivery people.
That's right.
And also there was a sign that said, Wednesday, McDonald's, this way. Mm-hmm. May 10th, McHappy Day.
McHappy Day. And since we got a little bit wet getting that mattress out of we were kind of cold, so we were going to go to hot coffee. And then
Bennett showed up, and
yeah.
For some reason started eating 36 filet-o-fish. Right. It was just amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
A lot of tartar sauce there.
And he was kind of bloated, and again we decided to go to the Kamloops Y Dream Home Lottery, but nothing crazy happened again as far as disgusting things.
No, he sat on the balcony and looked at that beautiful view, bought himself a ticket.
But he was kind of so weighed down, but it was almost good because he got to sit down and just see those stunning valley views.
Beautiful views, looking right over at the Kamloops.
It's valued at $1.38 million. Mm-hmm. This forward-thinking, 2,407 square foot modern mountain home at 2197 Coldwater Drive in Juniper West.
Yeah, pretty nice.
Pretty nice. Great job. Council meeting last night. I know you had to leave a little bit. You weren't quite holding up your end of the bargain, but
council meetings are held on Tuesday afternoons when our newspaper goes to press. So I'm at work and I'm laying out the paper, and we go to press at about 3:30 around there, the final pages, and council meeting is right in the middle of it. So Sean Brady was covering council. He was there in City Hall, and I'm listening to it as I do the work on the paper.
Yeah.
The stories from council meeting, we rarely get into the paper. It's too much of a turnaround. It's online. So I was listening to it, and of course, again, the public inquiry part, that's when, near the beginning, the mayor allows anyone to speak on issues on the agenda.
Dennis Walsh.
It went long again. What got us our attention, not just me, but Brett Minier down at Radio NL, James Peters over at the TV station, and a few other people are like, Dennis Walsh decided not to run for council after being on council for successive terms. I like Dennis. He's a pretty decent guy. He has a social conscience to him, and he asks some good questions. But he's been at council, I think, more than some of the councillors already this year. He's spoken more than many of the councillors. And I'm just wondering, why didn't he run again? Because he's more active now, I would argue, than he was in the last half of his last term.
And we did run along, but what was your overall what stood out to you? What else about the council meeting?
Well,
by the way, James Peters, big fan of the show.
Oh,
last
good.
week, Cleet. Hi,
Good.
James Peters. We appreciate that you watched the show.
Friend of the show, yes. Well, from what I heard, there was the thing that jumped out at me. It's not a sexy and big explosive thing. It's a small thing that happened later. Erin O'Reilly, she's a city planner. She's the wife of Mike O'Reilly, city councillor.
Yeah.
And I think she said this is her first time presenting to council. So she was a bit nervous. All I hear is the voice. I can't see anything because on the YouTube they don't really show them. It just shows you doesn't show you the people speaking. But I was listening, and she had this interesting. They're working a lengthy presentation, but an important one. And like I say, not a real sexy headline one, but it's the development. The planning department is working on reducing the time it takes for people to get minor variances into council, because we're a lot of red tape. So
Give us an example.
The gist of it,
like
let's say you want to go and you want to add a deck to your house, or you want to do something minor. I think this is what she was talking about. Rather than it's been taking 16 weeks to get through through City Hall, maybe go to council for approval. They're trying to get that down, and they think they will get it down, or already have, from 16 I think to 4 weeks, which is massive. And it doesn't sound like a big freeze up thing, but the homeowner gets freed up, the workers going to get freed up, the backlog at City Hall gets freed up, and if they keep doing that to a lot of things, because one of the mandates that the council as a whole wanted to do is expedite development permits. The builders want to we need housing. People need to renovate their houses, and the waits have been too long. They think there's too many steps to go through, but they need to do it smartly so you don't cut too many corners and then all of a sudden someone's building on the street or something like that, right? So
also, Kamloops Councillor Nancy Bepple, notice of motion for the 30th. She is not a big fan of this the province's
housing for people plan.
Housing for people.
Housing for people.
Homes for people.
David Eby and the Premier David Eby and his government released a few weeks ago a plan, some vaunted plan about how they're going to really address the housing crisis in BC.
It's the Homes for People plan.
Homes for People, yeah. And it's the latest they've been talking about Homes for People plans in various forms ever since the Liberals were in. But this plan apparently goes a step further in that it has plans that the government would be able to override local land use planning, and that's never been done before. Local land use management, decisions on how land locally is developed, has always been the purview of the municipalities, and this plan could override that, and that's her concern.
And Nancy's saying, we have our ducks in a row, we've got our own things going on here, we don't need you.
Yeah, the province says what they want to do is they want to roll this out by talking to identifying between 16 and 20 cities and working with them and seeing if their plan can be improved, whether the province can go there and do some overriding. Nancy is saying that we should not be one of those 16 to 20 guinea pigs because we're ahead of the curve, and she has a long, a long notice of motion to send a letter to the province to say, whatever you do, don't screw with our land use management because we are actually on pace. We have plans, we don't want them monkeyed with.
Do you know if are we missing out on some kind of funding if we tell them no or anything like that? Or?
No, I don't think it's even that far yet because there's no funding attached to this. The province just wants more housing built, more dense housing built, triplexes, duplexes, apartment buildings. The province wants more housing built across the province faster because we're having more people here. There is a crisis. But they haven't said, well, we'll give you more money for it if it costs more to build housing out here and you have to build infrastructure.
And Nancy's saying, you don't know the nuances of our city. There are things that you're going to open up the opportunity for that shouldn't be happening. And just leave us alone on this.
She just wants to make sure that they are proactive to say, by the way, if you're planning on doing it, you should know that we're already here. Here's what we have in plan, so make sure that you don't monkey with it. I'm sure every city is going to have the same response because every city's in a different spot, and every city has plans, and they might mesh with this Homes for People plan. Some cities might not.
Kamloops Mayor Reid Hamer-Jackson, he comes on our show, Reader's Digest. I'll reach out to him soon. Haven't booked him yet for this month, but you'll be on this month at some point. He wants a town hall, the first one in June, kind of, and if it goes well, he'd like to see it happen more often. Your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, no one would think it's a bad idea. It's how you implement it. Right?
Yeah.
The devil's are in the details, right? It's a great idea to have the public be able to speak to their elected representatives more is a good thing. But how you do that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
We see the start of every council meeting. It still is kind of a nightmare where they have something called the public inquiry. People get up and they can speak to council on any issue, and that got amended down to the agenda because people were veering off and talking about stuff that's not even on the agenda.
It has to be firmly mediated.
You have to have a good mediator there.
Cutthroat.
And I think, I'm not going on a limb here saying that the mayor should not be the one mediating it.
Yeah.
Because, as many towns as he may have, mediation is not one of them.
I think he'd be fine. I think he'd be fine with that.
Running a meeting is not one of his strengths, and I think he would admit it because he likes to let people talk about anything. But you need someone with a firm hand.
He did run on. He's a man of the people. He wants to hear from the people, and hey, if he wants to open up public engagement, there's nothing wrong with that. Got to do it right.
Got to do it right. We see that at our election forums where people go off, and Magic Mike and his staff here have a great. They can cut the mic.
Yeah.
And they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Above the Folds, brought to you by Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center.
Don't want the 9-hour cycle, please.
Freaking $500 hydro bill piece of trash.
I need to speak to Gord on the Niner.
Hey, no, I'm actually Steve, the new owner.
First things first, pal, you should probably update your sign. Number 2, my dishwasher is tangled again. The 9-hour cycle, hydro bill through the roof. You guys don't fix appliances, I know that, so I need a new one.
We actually do fix appliances, but if you want, I can try some new ones first and have a look. You got a price in mind?
Money's not an obstacle for me.
Money's definitely an obstacle. He's the cheapest guy in Kamloops. Ain't that right, Darby?
Well, this here is going to be your Cadillac model, top of the line. This is our middle of the road dishwasher, just a great dishwasher at a great price. This is our budget friendly model, still a great dishwasher, just at a bit of a lower price.
Price doesn't work for me. Let's see if you can fix mine at home.
Alrighty then. There you go, seems to be good. How's the fridge working?
The fridge is fine, Gord.
It's Steve.
How are you?
Great to be back.
You came in here on a bike.
I came in on a bike. Last week you had Carol Fenton here on a bike. I saw that. I thought, I got to come on a bike.
Give us one. It's like 30 years old, I think.
Well, 28, but it'll be hitting 30 soon.
Do you have a notable bike story, a close call, or something interesting that happened on that baby?
I don't know if you remember when I was in council last. That would be about 8 years ago or so. I went over the handlebars. I broke one elbow. I dislocated the other.
That's right.
It was pretty grim.
I did not know that.
See, if you drive a fossil fuel driven car, that wouldn't happen to you.
No, it wouldn't.
That's all I'm saying.
But I got back on the bike.
If you're in a Hummer, you'd be like really safe.
That's right. But I got back on the bike.
And you have to. You have to get back on the bike.
That's right.
That's right.
Okay, the provincial government's Homes for People plan. How do you feel about that?
Well, we need more housing. That's for sure. In terms of the entire country, we're expecting millions of new immigrants. Here in BC, last year there was 85,000 new people that arrived, and Kamloops is the 5th fastest growing community in the country. But, and the provincial government has said, well, we got to get on it, we got to build more housing. But what they're proposing is that the provincial government would sort of take control of something that municipalities typically have had control over.
They would have overriding powers.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And so yesterday at council, I put forward a motion which basically said, first of all, it listed all of the things that Kamloops has done.
There's a lot of whereases in there.
Whereas is the word you use.
My mouth is still sore today
But,
from reading it out.
But I mean, things like allowing duplexes and fourplexes, allowing smaller lot sizes, infills. So over the last few years, Kamloops has actually kept up in terms of the number of housing units for the number of people that are coming into our city. That doesn't mean we don't need more housing. I mean, there's a huge demand, especially for, like I would say, student housing. There's a huge demand for people who are at a lower income level, like seniors, and we need to have more housing. But if the provincial government comes in and takes over land use, one thing they've said is that they would allow fourplexes or twplexes anywhere in the city. So one example is in Barnhartville or in Rayleigh, City of Kamloops has restricted how much housing is built out there because of infrastructure. So Rayleigh is on septic fields. Barnhartville, as long as I can remember, the water is pretty well maxed out. So we can't be letting the provincial government come into Kamloops and saying, across the city, you can put more housing, because there's certain parts of Kamloops that just can't absorb that much growth.
And Victoria certainly isn't going to follow it up with funding to build the pipes and build all the stuff, right?
That's in the UBCM, which is the provincial group that represents all 220 municipalities. That was their concern, was that it's the provincial government has said, you need to put more housing into your community, but there was no, and we're giving you money for more pipes.
Well, if they're talking about everywhere, then density infill is easier to do because the infrastructure is already there, correct?
Right.
Right. So if you were to build up downtown, for example, like Vancouver does, is there any problem with doing that as opposed to going out?
Right. But in terms of how it's being presented by the provincial government, is that they would have the say on how the land use was.
Right.
And it would be a bit, and it would be quite a blanket. But they've also said that they're going to target 16 to 20 municipalities. So my motion yesterday was just outlining what Kamloops has done and saying that we have put in place many different things, whether it's for single family, duplex, fourplex, or multifamily, just to give us a housing spectrum. And it would be better. Well, we'll see. The motion hasn't passed yet.
May 30th, they're going to talk about it?
So we'll see.
And to be clear, Kamloops has already been ahead of the curve on some of this stuff. Part of the Housing for People plan was to allow secondary suites everywhere. Well, Kamloops did that everywhere in the urban area a few years ago, didn't it?
Well, it wasn't everywhere. So
no, in the urban area.
It was, I would say it's in Brocklehurst, North Kamloops, downtown, parts of West Side. I don't think it included Juniper or Rose Hill. So there were some places it didn't include, but it was a vast part of the city.
I think that was Kathy Sinclair's motion that got that going back in the day. Yeah.
So the motion is just putting up a red flag to the provincial government that we've got our house in order, and if they want to find 16 to 20 municipalities to work with, I'm saying Kamloops shouldn't be one.
Find other ones.
Yeah.
What do you think David Eby's government's response will be to the letter?
We'll have to wait and see. I would say there was actually a report out last week, and it was looking at the affordability of different communities, and Kamloops is still relatively unaffordable. It may not seem that to people here because of how quickly the prices have gone up, but relatively speaking, Kamloops is still affordable. So I think there's a lot of other communities that have bigger struggles than we do in terms of housing. So I'm sure that they can find 16 to 20 other municipalities to work with. And it would help us continue on what we've already been doing in terms of supporting new development and making it easier for builders to get houses built.
In British Columbia, relative affordability is like saying that this part of Siberia is less cold than that part of Siberia.
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
true.
But
That's true.
it is indeed cheaper here than in Vancouver, but it's still damn expensive.
What about
so.
council's appetite? What's your kind of temperature on that?
I think that I think it will be supported. I hope it will be. There's a bit of caution that, you know, all we're doing is basically raising a red flag to the province. We don't have any power over the province, so will it have an effect? But I think it's important to make those statements. We can't just sit back and wait and see if we're one of the 16 to 20 municipalities. The City of Kamloops has done a lot of different things over the years to give flexibility for builders, to give options for people that need either rental or to buy, and to have the provincial government come in and change our land use, which goes against our CAM plan. It really impacts all sorts of different planning, starting with water and sewer, roads, transit.
Do you see community groups or people in the home building industry or otherwise that you expect will kind of take issue with what you're trying to do?
No, I don't. I think that they just want certainty, and they want to know what the rules are. So they know what the City of Kamloops rules are, and if the province comes in, there would be a different set of rules. They would just work with those rules. But we have a really good relationship with the home builders. I think in terms of Canada, like we have the local Canadian Home Builders Association for the Central Interior. It's the only home builders association across the country that has a city representative on their board. So I think that we work well with the home builders. We are planning in terms of infrastructure. Hopefully it'll go through next week, and hopefully the province will find some other municipalities to support, because we do need housing across the province.
Shout out to Rose Choi from the CHBA, who just won another national award. They're one of the best home builder associations in Canada, for sure.
What about the switching? Well, anything else you want to touch on? You brought your notes here. Any other concerns you wanted to get to?
Well, you fire away, because I'm happy to.
I was going to move on to another topic altogether.
Yeah.
Town halls. The mayor is proposing. What are your thoughts on that? I think the June is when he would.
Did they approved it yesterday? What's going on with that?
No,
I had to go to a meeting, so I missed that part of the council meeting.
So he came forward with a notice of motion, so just like I did. So that means it will be discussed at the next meeting. However, you have to remember that back in February 28th, there actually was a motion from Dale Bass, Councillor Dale Bass, to have a town hall.
You voted against it. You were the only one.
Well,
explain why. Because maybe I'm wrong.
Okay.
Why did you vote against it? It was 7-1.
No, but okay.
It was.
It was, but there was an original motion.
You don't want to work at night, right? Is that your bike won't go that far?
Do
you have a bike light?
I have
You got lights?
I've
Well.
got one on the front, one on the back.
Well, then let's get into a night meeting. What's going on here? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so that notice of that motion that Councillor Bass had put forward it started out with another motion, which in my mind was completely different, and there was 3 changes to that original motion. I just felt it was a very messy way to bring it forward.
So let's cleave off all that stuff and let's just talk about town halls.
The mayor wants to hear from the people.
He wants to have a one-off meeting, and he said maybe if it works to have these on a regular basis, till you go to Sandman Center Lounge,
like
or you
monthly.
go to somewhere, and you say, okay, we're here. We got a couple hours.
Right.
No agenda. You speak whatever you want to speak on.
Right.
That seems to be what's happening at the start of council meetings now, anyway. So I don't know what the difference would be.
Well,
5-hour meetings where they talk about anything. But what do you think of the idea?
Okay, so, I mean, council agreed to that general idea February 28th.
Right.
And so then it was sent to staff to look at, and they were sort of working away at it. It also went to a committee, but the committees are all in hiatus at the moment.
Can I just stop you really 1 second here? Just what you said there is kind of driving me nuts. You want to have a town hall meeting, and we want to cut red tape on everything.
Right.
So you have a town hall meeting idea.
Right.
It has to go to staff.
Right.
They have to look into I don't know what the hell, and then it has to go to a committee, and then it has to probably go here, and then go here, and then go to some Svengali guy, and then over here. Why not just say we're gonna have a town hall meeting? Hey staff, April 28th, it's done. Does it really have to go through all the machinations? This drives me nuts. Does it really need that much work?
Well, I guess
I can hold a meeting
tomorrow. Let her speak.
You could hold a meeting tomorrow. That's true. Have you gone to many of the sort of the town hall, the meetings that they have typically for budget or for parks or
Mac Island and everything? Yes.
So they've done them many times, right?
Yes.
So I think one of the things to think about is how would you want the meeting to be formatted? So a lot of times they have them with sort of round tables. They sometimes have booths. They've done it where they have like a theater style. So yeah, you can have a meeting, but let's start thinking about how you want to do it.
Sure.
Do you need to have a facilitator? How are you going to publicize it? So I mean, the
fair.
city does
That's fair.
meetings probably every 2 or 3 months at some level.
No, that's totally fair,
So-
Nancy, but I don't think you need a committee and a staff and a select committee and task force to do that. I mean, one person can decide that and say, how's this sound? Yeah, it sounds great, let's go. But anyway, that's
Okay.
beside the point.
So
The idea
is to have a meeting.
Yes.
Council supported that idea. And in terms of how it would improve the weekly meetings, maybe it will or not. I mean, yesterday's meeting was almost 6 hours, which was typical.
Yeah, you know.
But
Are you
if
worried
there's
it's
an
just going to
issue-
be 3 more hours of grandstanding from people coming up and talking forever and not sharing the mic and going on for hours and hours and accomplishing nothing? Is that a worry?
Well, I don't know. I mean, one thing to think about in terms of how you format the meeting is just to think about how it's facilitated.
Yeah.
Because you can have where, and I don't know if you've seen it, I've seen it where somebody takes over the mic and just keeps talking.
Yeah.
And it's maybe good for them, but there's 10 other people behind them that want to speak.
Right.
But if you have a good facilitator, if you have chances for every person that's willing to go up to the mic, there's a lot of people that probably have something to say but don't feel comfortable in that sort of venue. So when you sort of organize what the town hall meeting is, you shouldn't think about it only as a place for somebody standing at a mic. You have to have a chance for them to go up one-on-one and talk to a counselor, or one-on-one and talk to staff. Maybe you also have to frame it, because what has happened a few times in city council meetings, yesterday wasn't too bad. Everybody stayed on topic, but somebody will bring up an issue that's like way out in left field, right? And that's something that's really important to them. But if there's 300 other people in the room, maybe it would be better that they just go and talk to that one staff
Yes.
person. But there's other issues which are
Broader,
more
yeah.
universal.
Yeah.
So I think there is some thought that needs to be put into how you want to have this town hall meeting. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Is it just a chance for people to vent, or do we want to come up with a list of 5 specific questions that we want tackled? Are we looking for people to bring ideas? I mean, there's different ways to do it. I think that's worth putting some thought into before you just have a meeting.
I thought, personally, when the city went from, at the budget meetings at Sandman Center, when they went from people speaking at the mic and asking questions to the round tables with the whiteboards, I thought that was way better, because ideas came out of that. The skateboard park in
Yeah.
Rayleigh came out of that.
Yeah.
And it was like you say, a lot of people might be a little nervous to go up there, but you can go and, like you could say, you have one issue that might be really, really small in your neighborhood, but you can go talk to Byron McCorkle about it. You don't have to talk to everybody about that, and people can mingle, and it's much more relaxed. So I think and they did it again this year, I think, at Mac Island. I think that's a good idea.
I think it's a great idea. I have no problem with the idea. Why would you not want to have community engagement? But
Yeah,
it's
no.
got, like you say, the
You make a good
mediator
point.
thing for
It
me.
has to be-
It's got to be cutthroat.
Yes.
It's you get this much time and you're gonzo.
Yeah, I think that's why the roundtable works. You don't have to worry about people hogging a mic.
Yeah.
On that note about meetings and talking, has Dennis Walsh ran for council again and not told us? I'm just wondering. He's speaking more and have more insight on stuff now that he's not on council than when he was on council.
Well, I guess he misses us.
Yeah, he must miss you. Oh my God,
Yeah.
he speaks more than half the council. Like when I'm writing a story or writing something up, I have to correct myself, say Councillor Dennis Walsh, because he's speaking all the time. There, it's funny.
Yeah.
One more question for you. I kind of asked you about this outside. You were there. Brett Manier of Radio NL, him and the mayor have a history. They've clashed before, but he was on Twitter last night. He's saying the mayor's unfit for office, needs to be told how to do his job, wastes time prosecuting grudges, can't get over the pause standing committees. So what do you think about the comments?
Well, I think that all of us have to be conscious of how we're perceived. And so, I mean, I can't speak for the mayor, but we got through the meeting by 6 yesterday, and not just grinding through. We had, I think, a reasonable conversations. And in terms of the mayor understanding how the meeting works and the mechanics of it, I think he's learning as he goes, you might say.
Getting better.
So
it's work in progress, I think.
Yeah, it's a work in progress. But I mean, what I think is important is that there was a full room of people that wanted to talk about some of the development variances, and they all had a chance to speak. The council all had a chance to speak. I didn't see any time in the meeting where we were just rushing through things. So we had fulsome discussion. We made decisions. I mean, I voted in favor of some things. I voted against some things. So some things I got, some things I didn't. Everybody was in the same boat in terms of that. Yeah. So as a council, I think it was a productive meeting. Right. We got through the business of the council.
Right. And like Katie has said, and other people in our newspaper and columns saying, don't just pay attention to all the noise, some of this noise that we see. Work is still being done.
Yeah.
And council has to direct staff, not vice versa. And that's what a lot of the criticism of the past council was, warranted or not. They say council should direct staff to do that. But in fact, yesterday, Erin O'Reilly, I think that's Mike's wife, she made her first ever presentation, a bit nervous, about cutting down some of these applications from, what was the timeline that's going to be if it works? Oh, it's pretty impressive.
It was from 12 weeks to 7 weeks,
4
or
weeks
6,
or something.
4 weeks.
So
it was. I mean, but
that's an idea they're talking about.
But it's what's called a development variance.
Yeah.
And as an example, there was a homeowner in Valley View who wanted to put a tiny little roof over their front entranceway, right?
Yeah.
But because of the lot lines and everything, it was too close to the lot lines. It had to go through a development variance. I mean, it's something so simple like that.
Should just be able to
they
do it.
should be able to
without
process
going to council. Yeah, something.
There was one out in
sense, right?
Westside, and they mistakenly put their deck too close to the property line. Again, should they have to rip up their deck? Well, no, it was decided that they didn't. Now, that had to come all the way to council to decide that.
Maybe that kind of stuff could be done in staff without you guys having to worry
actually,
about
that's
it.
what was decided.
Yeah.
Was that the vast majority of development variances, which its suggestion is that these are the rules, and we're going to change one small thing, right? That's the variance. Does it have to take 12 to 16 weeks to make that decision, or can it just be decided in staff?
Good point, and that's a good idea. You know who has really good ideas on development in town and lot lines and all this kind of stuff? Mitch Forgy, owner of Redbeard, co-owner of Bright Eye. He has a blog, and he has some interesting ideas about how land use should be, and you probably know that. It's very interesting.
You probably learned that at Redbeard with him.
Yes,
a couple of cold ones.
Best place in town. No, but it's the best place in town. But he does have some really, really neat ideas, really deep ideas on his blog about planning in the city, especially on the North Shore. So it's pretty cool.
I think we're going to leave it there.
Okay.
Unless you have anything else you'd like to comment on.
The only other thing to say is that I'm going to be running for the board of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM.
Yes.
I don't know if I'll get on the board or not, but in the past, quite a few people from Kamloops,
Arjun Singh,
Pat Wallace, who passed away, and others have gone on to that board. And I was on the committees when I was on council before. It's good to have a voice. We have people locally on Silga, we have people on UBCM, and it's good to get somebody on the FCM as well.
When does this election process happen?
The last week of the month.
Of this month?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Good luck to you on that.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe we'll find you a bike lamp. at some point too?
I have one.
You have one? Okay.
Yep, I'm good.
Is it solar powered?
Chris. Okay, we'll leave it there. Let's move on to the title of Hastings. It's brought to you by Volkswagen.
Volkswagen.
Kamloops Blazers. They are done. They will not play for the league title. They were eliminated Game 6 Monday night.
Monday night. Two nights ago. 2 days ago. Yep.
Your thoughts?
That's sad. It's like deja vu all over again. About this time last year, they were the ones at home for Game 7 and lost a heartbreaker 3-2. This year, Seattle had the extra home game if it would have went to 7. So it was a tough road to hoe. After that overtime loss in Game 2, that's when I knew it was going to be. Well, I think everyone knew. Had they won that game, and they should have won that game, it would have been a different series, I think.
Yeah, I'll just give some analysis here. I just want to preface everything by saying the favorites won. I mean, it's tough. I'm not here to crucify anybody individually, any of these players who are playing through injuries, sickness, off-ice battles. They were the underdog. They gave it a good go. They fell short. But it's our job to kind of take a look at what happened here. So Seattle, deeper. It's a super team. Kamloops had to be 100%, pretty much close to their best every single game. They weren't. And in some games, they weren't even particularly close. Game 6, I don't think they played very well. Key moments, you just talked about that. Game 2, I was in Seattle. They had 2 2-goal leads, coughed them up. They got to overtime. They lost in overtime.
And they dominated in the early part of overtime. They had many chances.
They had 3 opportunities, grade A opportunities to score. They couldn't do it. You win that game, you get the split. Who knows? Maybe it's a different series. They didn't get the timely goals. They didn't get the timely saves in that game. So that's a huge win right there. Goaltending, Thomas Milic, just look at the numbers, .917 save percentage. Dylan Ertz, .899. He also had some amazing moments. Were you at game 3?
It was at Game 3 when they won 4-1. He stood on his head.
The contortionist save.
He had a great game.
Even in Game 2, he gave up a tough one in overtime, but they wouldn't be in that game without him. He was amazing, especially after they conceded 1 goal. He made like 3 stops in a row on Gunther. So the Korchinski windmill save as well. 6-on-4 penalty kill. He was fantastic. So great in Games 3 and 5. The Who's House, Ernie's House chant. But consistency was an issue. Some goals he wants back. Top players. Logan Stankoven. Didn't have a bad series. He had 9 points. All assists. So if you go into that series and you say one of your best players, perhaps your top offensive player, is going to have no goals.
Reigning player of the year.
Reigning CHL player of the year. That's not going to help the team. When he knows that, he says this isn't news to him. He said, I would like to have produced better. He's not the only one. Well, he also had 1 goal disallowed, which was an atrocious, disgusting call.
That was bad.
The Zellweger in the crease, goaltender interference call. So he's not the only one. I mean, Connor Levis, Fraser Minton, Caden Bankier, Jakob Demick, Dalen Kiefler, 5 players combined for 3 goals and 12 points. So you need more secondary scoring from those guys. Like I said, we don't know who's hurt. We don't know who's battling off-ice issues. I know one player in particular is, and I can't expand on that anymore. But the numbers are the numbers. You need more from your secondary scoring. Seattle got way more from some of their depth players, so that doesn't help them. Let's hear now the press conferences after the Game 6 loss, emotional time. Logan Stankoven, Dylan Sador, who scored a big goal, Kamloopsian, Sean Clouston, the Blazers head coach and GM, and Sawyer Minio, who's from Kamloops, plays for the T-Birds, scored a big goal, and he loves candy.
What's the feeling in the room like right now?
That's not going to answer that one. That one's a given. We just lost the conference finals. I don't think we played our best. I think we left a little bit on the table, but that's the way it goes.
Why do you think that was? That you left something on the table?
Again, you'd have to be a psychologist and ask each guy individually, why they weren't 100%. This is a tough sport. It's a tough game. It's, they're young men. They're human beings. It's really, really tough to be at 100%, but that's what it takes.
Super disappointing. I wasn't able to contribute the series as much as I would have liked, so frustrating. kind of like it's kind of like last year. You know, close game going into the third, and just couldn't get it done. So it's frustrating.
Big game. We're on the brink of elimination. We know what we had to do, but you know, we didn't play our best tonight when it was needed.
Why do you think that was?
I'm not sure. We got to do a better job in the locker room preparing. You know, not being satisfied ever, and you know, didn't go our way tonight.
How do you describe the feeling in the dressing room right now?
It's not good. Yeah, it's definitely fuel to the fire. You know, we're lucky enough to get that second chance in a couple weeks here, so we're gonna do everything we can to be ready.
The second and third periods, it seemed like they kind of pulled away. Were you guys feeling fatigued, or why do you think they were able to kind of put the pedal down?
Yeah, not too sure how everyone else was feeling, but I wasn't feeling my best, so I was stuck in bed all day yesterday, sick. So felt better today, but I wasn't able to bring my best tonight. It showed.
Is there something going around? Sickness?
I must have been something that I ate, because yeah, it was just, I don't know if it was a stomach flu or what it was, but yeah, I was the only guy that had it. And, didn't come to the rink yesterday and felt a bit better today, but I mean, can't make excuses. When the game's on the line, you got to show up. So just tough ending. It was my third chance now in the playoffs. So, but yeah, it just felt a lot like last year. You know, just a real sour taste in our mouth. But we have a tournament coming up now, so I can't dwell on it for too long.
The Kamloops kid gets a big goal. What did it feel like to score that one?
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. I didn't even know it went in until I saw my advic chasing at me. So this huge score in the hometown, that was pretty cool.
Biggest goal of your life?
Probably. I mean, 2-1 goal in the third. I think that's pretty cool.
How long do you enjoy this one before you switch gears?
Maybe tonight. I mean, you gotta switch it fast. You know, we go to Winnipeg in a few days, so you gotta kind of just forget about this and, you know, think about Winnipeg now.
You guys bus home right now, or?
Yeah, I believe right now.
Any special treats on the bus? I mean, how do you celebrate this?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe stop for candy or something. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Stop for what? Sorry.
Candy.
Candy.
Yeah, it'll be a good bus ride though. So.
Yeah, I guess when you look around there in the room, you see guys' faces. What kind of emotions does that evoke for you?
Probably just say sadness, just because we're a pretty close group in there, and we thought we had the guys that could do it, and when you come up short, it's never a good feeling.
Is there? I know it's early here, but you look back, are there points in the series where you think, you know, if we gotta go here, gotta go there?
Yeah, overtime for sure. You know, we had some really good looks. We had 3 grade A chances in overtime. You know, I mean, so that's definitely one. You know, at the start of the third period, they pushed and then you know we made, you know, an error or two that cost us.
No, it's to be expected. They're just disappointed. It's hard to answer questions when you're really, really dejected, right? And
The first question I asked Sean, he didn't like it. I can understand why he didn't like it. I don't think it was a bad question, but at the same time, I could see why he'd be like, well, obviously, obviously we're upset.
Well, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. I didn't think he was upset. I think he was just stating the obvious, like, you know, well, you know, how do you think they're feeling? They're feeling bad, but maybe he could have expounded to say, well, I guess a good question would be, you know, what do you say to a team like that second year? Is there anything you can say that makes it different, or you just let them wallow in their pain for a bit? I don't know. It's hard, eh? It's hard, but. It's hard for them, but the thing is, they did really well. Like you say, they played a good team. Not one series this year has been an upset. The favorites have won every series. Last year there were some upsets, especially Vancouver, Everett. But this year, every single team that had more points than the other team has won. So it's hard.
And now you're done with the Kamloops Blazers.
No.
You are done with them.
No.
You think if they win now, it's a sham.
No, it's not a sham. It's better than last year when St. John got knocked out in the first round and had like 40 days off. They could have built an arc in that time. So then they won the Memorial Cup. I think that is unfortunate because St. John was a good team, but they'd lost in the best of 5 first round series in the queue. And then they win the cup and they have all that rest. That's not fair. It's not a real championship. This is different because they've gone to the Western final And I think I said on an earlier show, you can look it up. If you make the Western Final or the League Final, I think that gets rid of the asterisk a bit there.
Well, I don't know. You still said to me the other day you think it's still an asterisk.
Well, a little asterisk, but you know,
it's not a massive.
Well, no.
asterisk.
What I said was this: they're still a really good team. They're one of the best teams in Canada. They're top 5 team, top 10 team in Canada, right? Seattle's so good. Winnipeg's so good. You know, I think. The thing I was thinking is this, okay, so you have Winnipeg or Seattle, one of them is not going to make it. And
they're going to beat each other up.
But here's the thing, and this is no slight on anyone, both those teams are, by fact, they're better than Kamloops with respect to
how far their
points and how far they've gone. Okay, and that's no slight on Kamloops, but they are a better team. Seattle is definitely a better team. They beat them. And Winnipeg is the number 1 team in the entire league, I think, this year. So, and they were like number 1 or 2 all year.
Yeah.
So if one of those 2 teams can't make the championship because of the format, it's the format. I mean, they still want to win. Kamloops still wants to win. But let's say Kamloops wins the Memorial Cup, and Seattle takes Winnipeg to Game 7 and loses in triple overtime. You don't think Seattle's going to have a bitter taste in their mouth to know that, well, the team we beat,
them's the breaks.
I know
them's the breaks. It's just the format.
That's why I think I don't like the format.
You're
get it
up
though.
There, Winnipeg ice, foam finger. Go ice, go.
I hope Kamloops wins the Memorial Cup. I really do. They have no control over the format, and you know that. A lot of people are fine with the format. Before it used to be, there was no home host team. It was the 3-team tournament was held in the nearest major city. I like the fact that they go to all the cities. It's going to be a buzz in this town for 2 weeks. Yeah. They need to do something.
Positives. Okay, Logan Stankoven had 30 points in the playoffs in 14 games. 10 goals, 30 points. Going back 1 second, didn't help the Blazers to lose Logan Barros and Ryan Michael in the series. Your phone it's unbelievable today.
Yeah.
Okay, positives again. Olin Zellweger. Kamloops got to see pretty much a surefire NHL star playing hockey, that it's a positionless rover, a demon out there. It was amazing to watch. 4 goals, 4 assists in this series.
Incredible player, eh?
Matthew Semenoff, to me, the Dallas Stars have to be thinking, boy, we got a guy who's a leader. He's a warrior. He's a grinder, and he scored some huge goals. Game 5, even this one here, great pass from Dalen Kiefler to keep them in the game late. I mean, Semenoff had to tap that one in. That was just on the power play, but he was so good in this series. Ryan Hofer, he lived up to the billing. Dylan Sador, the whole season, he just kept going. And in the playoffs, too, he was basically ailing severely in that game. And they put him out there, and he played well, got a huge goal.
That was the game. That was like, what game was it when he wasn't going to play, but he came in and
that was game 6.
That was the game 6. Yeah.
And Harrison Brunick, to me, young D-man, stud of the future. He played like with some jam. The Biltong kid, I like to call him. A Lecker series from him. He's a stud of the future. Okay, and also should mention the awards. Olin Zellweger, back-to-back WHL Defenseman of the Year. That came down yesterday. Logan Stankoven, Humanitarian of the Year.
Yep.
Okay, so Kamloops has something that you can be proud of for him. Hockey Gives Blood, his work with them, and also with the Royal Inland Hospital Foundation.
I read somewhere online, I think this is good for Greg the engineer, who's not here today, but his favorite team is the Anaheim Ducks, right?
The Greg the engineer, yeah.
And Anaheim drafted Olin Zellweger.
Yeah.
And I think Anaheim has 3 players. He has the top defenseman of the year award winners this year from all 3 leagues.
In the
is
Q,
that right?
in the O, and the WHL.
That's going to be a good team in a few years, man. Yes.
Okay, we can wrap the show with the next slide, please, Bill. Thank you. Look at that, McDonald's colors too. McHappy Day.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, that's right.
McHappy Day is the most special day to me because what it is the one day a year that everybody we're able to help throughout the year. They come and help us help our community. So it's the best day of the year.
So who does this benefit most?
So across Canada, we're all raising funds for the Ronald McDonald House or local charities. We've decided this year that 100% of our proceeds are going to go to the Ronald McDonald Family Room that's being built right here in Kamloops, which I don't know if you understand how big of a deal that is, but it's a pretty big deal.
396 subscribers. We are ever so close to 400. Can't thank the Last Week Clique enough for all your support. I think this might even be our 2-year anniversary, either today or next week, because it's May. This month will be our 2-year anniversary of existence.
2 years? I thought we were only for a year.
No, this will be 2 years.
Is it 2 years or 1 year?
No, it's got to be.
It's only been a year, hasn't it?
No, it's got to be 2. We're almost at 100 episodes. So put that in your pipe. Okay, charity pickleball tournament's coming up Wednesday, August 2nd.
What does that even mean?
The show is growing, and we have room for another sponsor or two. Okay, so reach out. We do unique advertising. Today I'm going down to McDonald's. It is McHappy Day! Woo!
So if somebody sees this online right now, how can they help out?
They can bring me money. I will take their money. Anything over $100 will get a tax receipt from the Ronald McDonald House sent directly to your home, and we will. Anything you buy today, we're donating a portion of our proceeds, and you can buy swag. You can just come in and even give us a high five, because every donation from 25 cents to $10,000 matters.
You can buy.
Oh, I got mine
too. Socks are only $5, I believe.
Yeah.
So let us know if you're interested. KLW at KamloopsThisWeek.com. For now, we'd like to thank our current sponsors, though. Gord's Appliance and Mattress Center, Volkswagen, McDonald's, and the Kamloops Y Dream Home Lottery. Anything else?
No, that's it. Go and get yourself a burger, even if it's not today. If you watch this tomorrow, go get yourself a burger.
You buy the socks for $5.
Yeah. You can go online too, and you can donate after the fact, I think. So.
And it's Ronald McDonald's Charity House, which is if kids are sick and they have to pay for housing the families, I believe what it is the McDonald's House.
Yeah, and in Kamloops, the new tower will have, or already has, I think it's going to open later this year, Ronald McDonald room there for families. So if you have a sick kid who's having an operation or is getting treated, the McDonald Foundation has, they have a room in the new Gallardi Tower, Ronald McDonald room.
Cool.
Yeah.
For Christopher Foulds, Magic Mike, who's not here, for Greg the engineer, absent, Bennett and Bill, we'll see you last week.
Last week.